I've been a member of Holy Cross since 2007, moved down here from North Carolina. I'm what they call a cradle Episcopalian, and my mom and dad were all very active in their churches, and so that kind of has rubbed off on me, I guess. I love being a lay reader because my dad used to be one. I love being the crucifer at 8 o'clock because when I was growing up, girls could only sing in the choir. We couldn't do any of the acolyte type things, so I've enjoyed doing that. And when Father Will asked me if I would like to come in and be Junior Warden, I kind of jumped at it because Junior Warden in the Episcopal Church takes care of the buildings and grounds. Is kind of in charge of those areas. And here we've got the chapel, the parish house, the church, and all the gardens in between, and the cemetery across the way. So I chose to do this as a very hands-on job. The Junior Warden is a member of vestry, one of the officers of the church, and we have a deal with St. Elizabeth Place where we share a sexton, and our sexton is here only on Thursday afternoons and Fridays. This is too big a place for just 12 hours of maintenance and work. Starting with my first assignment was to get new signs for the Smith Medical Clinic and Baskerville Food Pantry because they were getting ready to dedicate the new building. At the time, we still had the old clinic, which would be behind where you're sitting. And this garden area was the BB&T garden. It was adjacent to the old clinic, which was probably a double wide size. They ran the clinic and the food pantry out of it. After we got the signs, we then wanted to get rid of the building. I had to find someone who could take care of the asbestos in the building because that was a part of 1940s construction. John Sands kind of headed up getting the building removed, and I guess after that I was off and running with what's next. Live as far away from here as you can so you're not on campus every day. No. The GPS in my vehicles all say I'm coming to work, and I'm hoping that because of all the time that I have spent here, but I've spent here the time because I love this place. We may have the sound of 17 behind us, but once we sat down here in this garden, I can hear the wind through the palm trees and the oak trees, and I can hear the birds, and this is a special place. This is home to me. I love taking care of this place. I loved it for the entire time that I did it, and I will continue to help take care of this place. We've got a beautiful garden here that was taken over by Mark Brown. We've got Karen and Bruce Ebbets helping with the plantings in front of the parish house. We've got Ann Whitaker and her herb garden, and now the native gardens, and a plethora of people who come and help. Jim Cody, who helped me with many building projects. We redid the front porch to the church. We put a ramp in to the kitchen. We've redone the porch coming out here to the herb garden. Jim and his wife Pat and Ken Beeland built the patio in front of the columbarium. Jim, Ken, and I built the ramp going into the parish house, rebuilt it. We use synthetic materials now, so they'll last longer. Everything needs attention. We just had the trees trimmed away from the church, and hopefully the church can get painted at some point in time. The parish house needs its wood repairs and needs to be painted. We put a new roof on the parish house since I was Junior Warden. We've cut down trees and made the place more accessible. Fencing and the St. Elizabeth Place sign, fencing and the cemetery sign. The cemetery is of particular interest to me. I want to make sure that it stays neat and tidy, and we take care of our veterans on Veterans Day and Memorial Day, and take care of all of our residents. who come to be a part of the cemetery. It's just a continuation of us, even though it's on the other side of 17. And I invite people to come and see the cemetery and walk through it. And again, you'll hear the sound of 17 in your background, but once you're in it, you'll hear the wind in the trees and the birds and watch the squirrels play. I'm exceptionally proud of the new sign that we have down on the road, because that was wooden and pretty banged up and needed to be replaced. And I did my due diligence and got several bids. But this particular design of the sign mimics the interior of our church. The beam, it looks like we have our beams at the top of the sign. It's on a dusk to dawn lighting system, so it's visible 24/7 and stands out, and really is the welcoming point to coming up Baskerville and being here. That's a good project. I enjoyed having a hand in that. We had no designation for St. Elizabeth Place. From this side, there is a sign once you drive in, but knowing it from here, we had no designation. So it was important to have a sign there and a little fence that mimicked the other little fences. There was no designation at the cemetery. It was just, well, yeah, there's some gravestones, but who does it belong to? And so it was important. We built a fence and then had a sign installed there. So, and all of these things we have to take care of. So the sign gets washed every now and then, the fences get repainted. We've got the fence line down Baskerville where we put flags for either church events or U.S. holidays, and I think that's important as a welcoming. Come join us. In South Carolina, there's no end to the growing season, so everything grows 24/7, 365 days out of the year. So one of the things that I really keyed in on, I wanted to make sure that our oak trees were well taken care of. I arranged for a contract with Total Tree Care, and they come in once a year and both take care of the trees and trim them as needed and give us multiple gallons of fertilizer. And it's a contract that we kept for 5 years and then just renewed. So we're into our second set of 5 years with them. They're the same company that take care of the trees in Oak Alley at Brook Green. So I figured we had a pretty good professional take on how to keep these trees going. I'll start down in the chapel, which now is the home to our Human Reinvestment Program, after-school mentoring program for children. It's just a joy to have kids back on campus, kind of a throwback to when Miss Ruby had her school. These kids come in every afternoon after school from 2:30 to 6, and they're fed a hot meal. They're given assistance with their homework and other academics, and they have time to come out and play on the grounds of the church. That particular church area will need some help if we ever want to go back to using it as a chapel again. We need a handicap ramp for entrance, and the front patio is broken concrete, so we need to have that repaired. It's a 1950s building that used to sit down on Highway 17 and next to the cemetery, and when they widened 17, they moved the building up here, and it's sitting on top of a spring, so it has a sump pump underneath that keeps the water at bay, and sits right next to a wetlands area. But it's a very important piece of our heritage, and something that will always be a part of Holy Cross. Behind me is the parish house, and of course, if you will come to church here, you know that it's the home of Miss Ruby's school. She and Dr. Forsyth lived upstairs. Father Will says sometimes he can still smell the cherry tobacco from Dr. Forsyth's pipe. And it's an old building. It has its problems. It was built in 1932, and that's before the dawn of Tyvek and wrapping a building so that you have a moisture barrier, so it has mildew. We had a mold scare this past year, but it was the one thing that came up in testing comes up in the outdoors. And it was just a combination of 90-degree weather, 90-degree weather, an old building, and it just smelled like rotten wood. And we have a few places that need to be fixed. We have some windows in the nursery, and that's why the nursery is not back in that area. Everything is safe. We've got groups and offices still working in there. Everything is safe, except it's an old building. And we intend on having some repairs made so that we can continue using it. Holy Cross would be a totally different place without them. They are our history. They are our heritage. It's from whence forth cometh everything else that is Holy Cross. And we are blessed by our heritage and our diversity, and we welcome everyone unconditionally. And they're our history, and it's important to keep your history and to embrace it and to love it and take care of it. It's who we are. It's our background. We will always use our old buildings, and we can repurpose some areas within the parish house once we might have a new building. And a new building is our future. And I think it's very important that we provide offices that give access to the public. Right now, everything is upstairs, and we have no elevator or way for people to get upstairs if they are disabled or need assistance. And we need to have our offices and our rector and our office operations manager and everyone working in the office accessible to anyone and everyone. That would allow us the chance to repurpose the rooms upstairs. We could have some of our ministries have their offices there. There's just so much potential. Having a nursery with a new playground, that's going to be a drawing card for young families. I envision the infants staying in the parlor during church so that mom and dad are nearby, but the toddlers and other children of all ages can go to the new building for Sunday school, have access to the playground that will be there as part of the design of the building. Having a building program now, and with the intent of putting in a new building for offices and meeting space and conference room, perhaps a dedicated library, church library. We've got tons of books in the parish house that need to be someplace where people can have access to them. This is just it's part of growing. We have a wonderful foundation, and we need to expand that foundation. And the children are the future of our church, and we need to draw in families with kids, and those kids stick around or go off to college and then come back and live in the area and come back to church here. Generations need to be here. It's not a one generation fits all. We need everybody here. We are here for everyone. We have been the rallying point for people in need, and their needs are great, and we need to continue that. And by growing, we are bringing more people in who can then, in turn, help those around us. And our legacy is being the place where people know they can come to get help. And I firmly believe that in growing, we are still helping. Well, I appreciate the opportunity that Father Will gave me. And it was kind of like, I'd like for you to be in this position, take it and run with it. And that's what I did. I tried to be a good steward of the funding that we have for taking care of the place. Every time I would bring an idea to vestry, the treasurer always knew that I had done my research and done my comparisons. And if I couldn't get 3 prices, I got the best price for what we needed to have done. And I'm exceptionally proud of this place and the support that I've been given. And I know that support will carry on. This is just a place you can't help but love.